Hello everybody, I'm Samantha
I'm Alison.
and we are the Garcia sisters. Welcome back. Welcome to the Night Owl Chronicles. Channel, podcast, everything.
Super exciting. We are going to read again from The Door, and we're going to read chapter 5.
But before we get into the chapter, Alison, do you just want to give everybody a recap of last week, chapter 4?
Yeah, so chapter 4 was called 3 Times, and basically what happened is that Josh's parents are already in LA, and he is actually alone with his friends having a sleepover, and he's really relieved that at least for the first night he doesn't have to sleep alone. But in the middle of the night, just past 3 a.m, he hears knocking at the door, so he goes downstairs completely petrified though, cold sweat, and after investigating it he sees that there are 3 knocks at the door and someone's kind of testing or jiggling the door handle to test it to see if it's open or not. And when he looks through the peephole, there's no one there, and he concludes maybe it's all in his mind, that he's just so mentally fragile that he is seeing things and hearing things that are not really there. So he goes to bed, he medicates himself and he goes to bed and finally falls asleep.
But we're going to get straight into it now. I will start with chapter 5 and we're going to reveal more what's going on in Josh's world. Whoa, look at her, you lucky dog. She's so beautiful. I would have never thought in a million years that Emma would have ended up with me, especially after what had happened. It once crossed my silly mind that she'd leave me because I was so withdrawn after the attack. There was a time when I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I'd even ignore her phone calls and messages. I cut everyone off, even myself. I didn't want to deal with my recovery and all the bullshit that came with it. No, I didn't want any of it. I turned my back on the world. I never seen, and I said goodbye. But Emma was so resilient. She never gave up on me. She drove to my house the day I was discharged from the hospital. She baked cookies and made coffee for my parents to keep them company. I remember hearing her soft voice downstairs and how it soothed me.
I felt safe. I felt warm and fuzzy inside. She was a perfect distraction for us. I wanted to run downstairs and hug her, but I couldn't lift myself up. Everything was a struggle. It was easier to stay in my room with the door closed, hearing her voice from a distance. I think I heard Dad chuckle, which was a good sign. When I heard her footsteps on the carpeted stairs in our old house coming toward me, I just melted. Emma was coming to see me. She couldn't stand that I was ignoring her, so she came to me instead. What a trooper. When Emma opened the door, I turned to her. I was silent, unsure what to do next. But I didn't have to do anything. She smiled at me, and I knew I was going to be all right. Everything was going to be all right. Instead of giving me a pity smile and saying sorry, that it wasn't my fault, she flashed me a genuine smile and told me how much she'd missed me. And something inside of me finally broke down, and I vowed to never lock myself in my room again. I was missing out on life, on her, on us. Emma took excellent care of me. Even though she was super independent, she took the time to make sure that I was fine. I knew I had the best girlfriend in the world. I poked my head in front of the science room. The door was closed, but I could see Emma through the square glass. She was sitting in the middle of the class, tapping a pencil on her lap. Her useless lab partner, Miranda, was texting as usual. Emma was by far the prettiest girl in class. I could hear Mr. Finch talking about atoms, and everyone looked fixated on what he had to say, almost hypnotized.
She was much more dedicated to her studies than I was. In fact, I was supposed to be studying during my free period, but I couldn't be bothered. My mind was too active and I had to move my body. I couldn't stand the idea of sitting alone in the library with my head buried in the textbooks that I didn't care for. Instead, I opted to wait for Emma. I walked up and down the hallway, always pretending that I was going somewhere important every time a teacher walked past. I was outside her classroom like a lost puppy, waiting until her class was over just so I could see her, talk to her, and hug her. Damn, why am I feeling super affectionate today? The bell finally sounded, almost bursting my eardrums. I hadn't known the bell was right above me. Ding, ding, ding. I plugged my ears with my index fingers, and suddenly the abandoned hallways were bursting with students. And out came their cell phones. Their eyes were locked onto their phone screens, as if their lives depended on it. I was glad I hadn't submitted my life to the ugly trend of social media. "Emma," I called out, "over here." "Hey, this is super nice," Emma gushed as she leaned in and gave me a hard kiss. She hugged me tightly, and it was just what I needed. I didn't want to let her go. She smelled so good. She always wore this distinctive, sweet perfume right behind her ears, and I'd go weak at the knees every time I inhaled it. "I missed you," I whispered into her small ear. "I didn't," Emma joked. "I was having a glorious time in my science class."
Yeah, I could tell, I said. Before I could say anything else, though, two strange hands pulled us apart, and the only thing I saw was a big mass of bright blonde hair and a whiff of strong perfume that made me blink several times because it was that strong. "Out of the way, can't you see that I'm walking? How rude," Emma's friend Miranda bluntly said as she adjusted her super skinny jeans that were hanging too low. "Oh, have a good day, Miranda," Emma said. "I'll see you tomorrow." "Yeah, sure, whatever. Listen, can you send me the notes from today's class?" she said. "But you were there, remember? You were sitting right next to me," Emma said, looking confused. "I know I was there, but I had to message someone important. So can you send them to me?" Miranda said, half rolling her eyes. Sure, I've got your email." "Great," Miranda said. I didn't like Miranda. She was such a user. I didn't understand why Emma was even friends with her. She treated Emma like crap. As Miranda turned away, this time adjusting her light blue crop top that was slightly revealing her belly button ring, her clothes looked tight and uncomfortable. I chuckled when I imagined her trying to go to the bathroom. How would she even attempt to pull down those skin-tight jeans that were obviously constricting blood flow to her head? "Why do you even bother?" I asked, turning to Emma as she sighed. "What do you mean?" she asked back.
"Come on, you know exactly what I'm talking about," I said, pointing to Miranda. "Why?" "She's using you. She's always using you because you can't say no to her. And she knows that. She's a snake," Josh said. "Hey, I can say no. But you know the saying." What on earth was she talking about? Hang on. She'd always mentioned it to me, I remembered. But I always forgot it. It was something about playing the game, I think. "What is it?" Josh asked. "Play along, get along," Emma said. She was a smart girl. All right. I knew she was disappointed, but I'd forgotten her saying. "I can handle her. She can be a good friend when she wants to be. Just don't let her walk all over you. You're too good for her," Josh said. "I won't. Thank you for being so concerned. You're my girl," I said with a smile before I hugged her again. I almost lifted her off the floor, and I didn't want to let her go because I realized how much I'd missed her. Before I released Emma, I saw an unwanted stranger before me. It was Amanda Wolf. She was almost at the end of the hallway. I couldn't see her clearly because of the students walking in front of me, but I knew it was her. She was leaning against the lockers, holding a bunch of messy notebooks with drawings on them against her chest. Dressed in black from head to toe, her thick black makeup almost blurred her eyes.
Yet, I could see them. I could see those haunting green eyes staring back at me. I leaned in toward Emma to let her know. "Why is the new girl staring at us?" I asked. "Who, Amanda?" "Yeah." "Maybe she likes you," Emma teased. "Or you," I joked. Whatever. Amanda kissed my neck and released me. She turned around to see Amanda, who was still leaning against the lockers. "Oh yeah, there she is. Maybe she likes to watch." "Yeah, right," What is she doing? Why is she always doing that? I asked. What? That? I blurted out, half pointing in her direction. She's always staring at me as if I did something wrong. She stares at me as if she hates me. Maybe she's not even looking at you. What do you mean? I asked. Maybe she can't see because of all that makeup. She could be staring into space. People do that. Don't take it personally, she said. I don't think so. She's always staring at me. She doesn't do it to anyone else. And I think she's moved to my street. Is that so? I would love to live on your street. We'd be closer, she said. I ignored her sweet remark and continued my rant. There was something very strange about Amanda. When my parents left, I saw her standing at the end of the street, I said. And she was staring at me. Even when it started to rain, she stood there like a statue.
Emma moved in front of me so she could block Amanda from my sight. She looked magnificent in her V-neck white shirt and dark blue jeans. She didn't need to wear tight clothes like Miranda, who thought she was the star of the school. Don't be so paranoid, Josh. She's not going to bite, Emma said. Why is she saying that? Does she think that I'm seeing Amanda as another attacker? You're right, Emma. She won't bite. Let's change the subject, I said, with a forced smile. I guess she was right. I was getting paranoid about everything lately. I didn't want to be obvious to Emma or anyone else. We both walked away from Amanda, but I could still feel her eyes following me. How unsettling, how disturbing. Hey, why don't I come over to your house tonight? You can help me study for my English paper, Emma suggested, clasping my left hand tightly. Her hands were so smooth and silky. Sure, I could use the company. How's your uncle? She asked. Not good. I spoke to Mum this morning. She's calling me every morning to give me an update. She calls religiously every day at 7 in the morning. What's the update? Emma asked. He's still in a coma. My parents, they just sound so tired, Josh continued. I understand why they would be. How are you coping? Emma asked. I'm worried, angry, sad, concerned. I feel so bad for him. I want him to wake up and get better and move on with his life.
You'll get through this. You always do. You're a strong person. The strongest person I know, Emma said. I knew what she was referring to. The attack. How I wished it had never happened. How I wished I was the old me. The old me who never depended on drugs to calm down. Who wasn't so paranoid about knocking and tapping sounds and random students staring at me. It never used to be that way at all. The old me died that night, never to be revived again. The thought of me, and that thought made me sad. I had a sudden urge to cry. And now we cut to the scene where Emma and Josh are alone at home and things change very quickly. Thanks for helping with my paper, Emma said, sorting her textbooks and list papers into a neat pile. She placed them inside her bag and yawned hard. I was not as careful as her. I'd shove my homework into my backpack and not care if the papers were wrinkled. I didn't care about the state of my papers and how creased they would get, yet Emma made sure that her pages were never bent and that everything was always in perfect order and readily available in her light brown laptop-style bag. I'm glad you're staying tonight, I said, brushing my hand down her slender arm. Her body felt warm and her sweet perfume still lingered. Me too. We hardly spend any time alone. Yeah, I know, I said, suddenly feeling guilty. Maybe I had been too caught up in my own thoughts for too long. I didn't want to be self-centered. I needed to move on and expand. What did you tell your parents? I asked Emma.
I told them I was staying at Jenny's house tonight. Don't you mean Miranda? No, Miranda, I joked. Ha, very funny, Emma said. Emma pinched my left arm and raced upstairs. I tried to catch up to her, but she was too fast. Her black boots made heavy thumping sounds on the wooden steps. Catch me if you can, Josh. "Oh, I will," he said. She raced into my bedroom and threw herself on my bed. She was in a playful mood, and so was I. She'd always bring out the inner child in me, and I liked it. I could forget about reality for a short time. I took a hold of her legs and raised them to my shoulders and pulled off her boots. Emma had small feet, but they looked cute. I could see her toes wriggling underneath her pink socks. "Don't you dare," Emma protested with a big smile. She knew what I was going to do. I was going to give her the biggest tickle ever. "No, stop it!" Emma screamed as I fiercely tickled her soft feet. She laughed, she squealed at the same time. She tried to release her cute feet from my grip, but I was stronger than she was. "That tickles!" I couldn't help but laugh too. She was so cute when she was in a playful mood. I stopped when she finally managed to take her right foot back. We stared at each other, huffing, puffing, and giggling. For a few seconds I admired her raw beauty. There was nothing I could fault in her. She had the type of beauty that was flawless.
"You're beautiful," I whispered to Emma. She said nothing back, but gave me a small, promising smile. She wiped away a small tear from her right eye from laughing so much. "I love you, Josh." "But I love you more," was my instant reply. I did love her. I had loved her the second I laid eyes on her. She was my everything, my source of comfort, my ally, my best friend, my perfect distraction, my all. Emma was my world. Heck, Emma was my universe. I reached down and kissed her, her strawberry lip balm still on her lips. Then something overcame me. Something I had wanted to do for a while but had never really actually pursued. I wanted to be intimate with Emma. I wanted to feel her on an entirely different level. This would be new to us, but it would be worth it. It would be something to remember for the rest of our lives. As I gently laid myself on top of her, I brushed her blonde hair back and kissed her harder. She moaned, but it was a different kind of moan. I didn't know if it was a good moan or a bad moan. I kept on going, my hands carelessly wandering around her body, and I was about to unbutton her jeans, but with clear intentions. She moaned again and pushed me away. "What's wrong?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "I don't know," she said. I wondered for a second if I'd crossed the line. But we fooled around before. This was the first time, though, I unbuttoned her jeans. Maybe that scared her. I hope she didn't see me as some kind of monster. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked.
"No, you didn't," Emma replied, casting her blue eyes down to my lap. I sensed she was embarrassed for pushing me away. "I'm not ready." "That's fine. It really is." I wasn't lying. It really was fine. Sure, I would love to have sex with her, but we had waited this long with our pants up. "Are you sure?" Emma asked. "I can wait," I said, rubbing her thighs. "Hey, look at me." Emma slowly raised her eyes to meet mine, and her smile returned. "There's no pressure. I'm happy to wait until you're ready." "That's why I love you," Emma said. She shuffled herself away from me so she could sit up and hug me. I wrapped my arms around her and squeezed tightly. Emma was precious to me. "Let's go to sleep," I suggested. "Wrap your arms around me and never let me go," Emma whispered. We changed our clothes and climbed into bed. But I didn't care. I did not care that she didn't want to go all the way through. I was with Emma, and that's all that mattered. I started to think about my uncle, how hard he was hanging on to dear life. Was he struggling? Was he in any discomfort? I didn't know. But it was easy to imagine the worst. Mum would call tomorrow morning with her update. I just didn't want to hear any more bad news. Even with Emma by my side, I couldn't bear it.
And now Josh wakes up. We're cutting to a scene where Josh wakes up in the middle of the night. I suddenly woke up, confused about what had woken me up. I rubbed my eyes. I had trouble keeping them open. I could see through my lashes that it was still nighttime. So why was I awake? What had startled me so much? My heart began to beat faster than normal. I looked over to Emma. She was rolled over to her side, sleeping peacefully. I knew this because I could barely see her chest moving as she inhaled and exhaled. My eyes were adjusting to the darkness, and as I looked around the bedroom, I felt more alert. I looked at Emma again. She was at peace, but I felt restless and disturbed. It almost felt as though something had awoke in me, like a noise, I think. What's wrong with you? I asked myself, trying to remember the moment I had woken up. I could have sworn that I heard a loud bang as if someone or something had banged hard on the front door. No, it can't be, I thought. My ears observed the silence. Nothing there. No noise, no sound of shuffling or tapping. Good. Go back to sleep, I said to myself. Just as I rolled over to face Emma's back, my whole skin flushed with hot blood when I heard the doorbell ring. What the hell? I instantly thought. I jumped out of bed like a scaredy cat, unsure of what to do next. I didn't want to wake Emma because I didn't want to scare her. The clock read 3 a.m. Who can it be? The intruders? I gasped when I heard the doorbell again. The soft tune of the doorbell echoed all the way up to me, inviting me to open the door. I walked out of the room and closed the door behind me.
It was my way of shielding and protecting Emma from whoever was outside. I had my baseball bat in tow. The long, shiny, grey metal bat was raised before me as I clutched the handle with both of my hands. My thighs trembled with fear, my mind screaming at me to run for the hills, but I need to face the stranger pressing the doorbell. I didn't want to be a scared little boy. I wanted to be courageous. Every step going downstairs was torturous. The doorbell sounded again, and I wondered how the intruders found me. How did they know I was home alone? How did they have the guts to come here and press the doorbell? Josh thought. Yet none of this made sense. There was no way they could have known where they had moved to. If it wasn't them, then who was on the other side? Each step forward felt treacherous, and my legs suddenly turned ice cold from the crisp air in the house. I finally reached the landing and observed my surroundings with a deep frown, as if I was Rambo or some other courageous character. Instead of bearing a hunting knife, I had my baseball bat. This would do for now. It was better than nothing. I was surprised that I was doing this on my own, given the fact that I didn't know how to control my anxiety levels. Don't let them hear you, Josh, I lightly whispered to myself. Even I couldn't fully understand my own words. I quietly and ever so carefully peered into the peephole with my right eye. Nothing. Again, I didn't see anything. Before I pulled away, something caught my eye.
What is that? I asked myself, with a light whisper again. I could see something sitting on the front porch. Damn, I hate this darkness. I couldn't make out what it was. Before I could rub my eye, from the lack of blinking, something dark ran past the front door. I jumped back, suddenly, feeling a sudden lump in my throat that made it hard for me to swallow. My hands suddenly felt weak as I still held on to the baseball bat close to my body. What the hell was that? I thought. I wanted to look through the peephole again because I wanted to know what was out there. But I was scared. Whatever had run past the door had run at lightning speed. It had run so fast that I couldn't even make out who or what it was. It could have been a person or a wild animal. I didn't know. It was anyone's guess. I rubbed my right eye and looked through the hole again. My breathing was now hard as I exhaled against the door. The dark-shaped shadow that was sitting on the porch was now gone. I decided to do something that I should have done from the start. I turned on the porch light, waiting, which was within arm's length. But to my dismay, the light didn't work. I flicked the switch on and off several times, but the light bulb was dead. Not now, no, I cried, louder than I had expected. When I turned back to the peephole, I screamed in sheer terror when the only thing I saw was an eye staring back at me. The eye was wide open and fiercely focused on my presence. I jumped back and started to yell, my hands gripping the baseball bat so hard that a sharp pain erupted within my wrist. It hurt a lot, but I still held on. "Come on, you piece of shit, what do you want from me?" I protested. The image of this eye was intense and fresh in my mind.
The Eerie was a light powder. The iris was a light blue color, almost white, like a monster in a horror movie. It was evil looking and staring right back at me, as if he or she I had been secretly spying outside. "Leave me alone, you hear me? Leave me alone!" I cried again with all my might. The image of the eye never escaped me, which made me panic even more. The skin around the eye was pale, shriveled, dry, as if the person looking through was dead. I couldn't believe I actually saw this. The person looked dead, and those veins, those ugly veins, in that split second, I could see the bloody veins that circled the iris like an old ivy plant. The veins seemed to pulsate with decaying life. There were several light thumps against the door. I was completely speechless. The deep stare was disturbing. It was a stare of knowing, of certainty of who I was. I was being watched, and whoever was out there knew that I was in here watching them. "I'm calling the police. They'll find you, and they'll get you. You'll see." I yelled some more, hoping that my threats would work. I was startled when the light above me flickered on, illuminating the entire ground floor. I turned around and saw Emma rushing downstairs. I knew she was afraid. I could see it in her eyes. She looked tired and confused, and I understood why. "What on earth is going on? Why do you have a baseball bat?" Emma questioned. "There's somebody out there." "What? Who?" Emma asked with a trembling voice. "I don't know, but the person's dead." "Dead?" she said with an unimpressed tone.
"I mean, the person looks dead." "Wait, the person outside looks dead," she said. "I know it sounds crazy, but I know what I saw. Its skin is all pale and shriveled, and the colour of its eyes was almost white. I just think I saw a ghost." "Josh, please calm down," Emma said. "We have to call Josh," Emma interrupted. "Please stop for a second. Think about what you're saying. A dead person at your doorstep doesn't make any sense." A few seconds of silence came between us that seemed like hours before I could say anything. I wanted her to know what I saw. I wanted her to believe me. I needed her to trust me. "I know what I saw," I said. "If it wasn't a dead person, then who do you think it was, huh?" "A stupid prankster," she replied. "You think someone's joking out there?" "Yes, I do," she replied. "Someone's messing with you. Maybe the prankster cut out an eye from a scary picture and placed it in front of the hole just to scare you." And I thought to myself, it made sense. It really did. But what about that thing I'd seen rushing past the porch? "But I saw something else," I said. "What? What did you see?" "I saw something dark sitting on the porch steps. Then something rushed past the door. And the thing that was sitting on the porch, later it quickly disappeared. When I tried to turn on the porch light, it didn't work, and that's when I saw the eye," I explained, my words escaping from my mouth at a rapid speed.
"It must have been kids running past so they could escape in time," Emma explained. I couldn't believe how calm she was, but then again she hadn't seen what I saw. She walked toward the front door and I automatically stopped her. "Don't open it," I called out. She ignored me and looked through the peephole. She slumped her shoulders down and reached over to turn on the porch light. "Don't bother, it's broken," Josh added, but the light came on. It was working perfectly fine. Now this didn't make any sense at all. Josh, the porch light works fine, see? Emma said, pointing to the side window. It can't be, it wasn't working, Josh said. Well, it's working now. Are you sure you didn't dream this? I'm not a sleepwalker, Emma. You know that very well, I snapped back. But seeing a dead person through the peephole, the porch light suddenly not working, and someone rushing past, she stopped. What? Go on, say it, Josh said. It sounds a bit outrageous. And I didn't hear anything. That's because you were asleep, Josh said. So I would have heard something. I closed the bedroom door before I came downstairs. Emma frowned at me. What? Why was she giving me that look? Josh thought. You closed the door behind when you left? Emma asked. Yes, that's what I said. When I jumped out of bed to find you, the door was wide open. You never closed it.
That's impossible. I closed it, I protested. Well, clearly you didn't, she said. Maybe you thought you closed it all the way. Something is happening, Emma. Something I can't explain. I don't like this one bit. Nothing feels right. All right then, let's call the cops. Let them investigate your front porch, Emma said. I will, and I'm going to call them right now. And now we cut to the scene where the police have arrived. I don't know what to tell you, son, the officer said with a sigh. I don't know what to say except that you were the victim of a stupid late-night joke. Is that all you can say? I hissed. How could he not care that someone was harassing me? I mentioned the knocking, the door handle jiggling from the night before, and still he seemed unimpressed. What more information did he need? Look, Officer Carter and I have searched the front of your house and all around your property and we found nothing. Are you sure? I asked. Yes, we are very sure. There is nothing to indicate an attempted robbery and there's no sign of any forced entry. So what do I do? Just wait? The officer looked at me. I'll write this up, but I honestly feel that someone's targeting you for their own amusement. It's extremely inconvenient and scary for you, I understand. But someone did try to get in before. The person jiggled the damn handle, I said, raising my voice.
Calm down, the officer said. I'm not really in the mood to calm down, Officer Walker, I said, looking at his name badge. Josh, Emma said, looking annoyed. Listen to her, Josh, Officer Walker said, stepping in closer. We do not tolerate any form of rudeness or abuse from anyone. Understand? Yeah, I understand perfectly, Josh said. Officer Walker was a tower, a big tower of enforcement. He looked down at me with a serious face. He was intimidating. The red and blue lights from his patrol car reflected on his bald head and dark skin. Keep your emotions in check, he added. Fine, was the only answer I could give. He was so big that I knew that he could take me down in an instant. I had no choice but to comply. All clear, his partner, Officer Carter said, as he adjusted his glasses with one hand and waved his flashlight over the front lawn with the other in case the prankster had dropped something. Officer Walker turned to him and nodded in acknowledgement. He turned back to me and breathed in deeply. I could tell he was tired of everyone's late night calls and bullshit. As I said before, we found nothing. Your house looks secure. I'm not making this up, Josh said. I never said you were. But you're not hurt. Your girlfriend's not hurt. And there's no sign of any danger. What do I do now? Do I wait for the person to come back? Josh asked.
Officer Walker paused and rubbed his bald head. His dark eyes wandered back to me. If something like this happens again, call the police right away. Had you been getting phone calls from other people about late-night pranks? Emma asked. Good question. I hope he'd say yes. No, Officer Walker replied. We've got no complaints from other people. It seems you're the first, but hopefully this is the last. We're going back to the station. If something suspicious happens, please ring 911 immediately. I knew it was his duty to say that, but he didn't seem bothered that our lives were in danger. I could tell by now The slow movements of his body and how tired he looked, that he just didn't care. He didn't care one bit. Officer Carter was already sitting in the patrol car. He was talking to someone on the small radio that was attached to his black shirt. I assumed he was giving them the lowdown on us and what a waste of time it had been coming here. "Do you have any enemies at school?" Officer Walker asked. "No," I responded bluntly. "I was attacked by 2 intruders not too long ago. They came to my house and beat me up." "I know," he said. "How? I never told you." "Background check," Officer Carter said. "Oh," was the only thing I could say. "I'm sorry about the attack," he said. "Me too. I wish it never happened."
Your record is immaculate. So is yours, Miss Gates, Officer Walker said to Emma. Do you think it could be the attackers? I asked. If it had been them, then at least I know that a dead person wasn't stalking me, just 2 aggressive drug addicts wanting their revenge. I didn't know which option was better. Honestly, no, I don't think it's them at all. I've seen multiple cases of drug-related attacks before, and I've never once seen them come back. Go back inside, lock the doors, and ignore the pranksters. You mentioned earlier that your uncle is in hospital. When did you say your parents are coming back? The officer asked. I don't know. It depends on my uncle. I'm sorry about that. I really hope he recovers, the officer said. I hope so too. Come on, Josh, Emma said, taking a hold of my arm, forcing me back inside. For some reason, I didn't want to close the door. I didn't want to give them another opportunity to terrorize me. Emma closed the door ever so softly, and I looked to the stairs in front of me. I could vaguely see the red and blue patrol lights illuminating the walls in the living room and study. Gosh, I wish the officer would stay outside all night. I would feel much safer. Yet, I knew that was impossible. I wasn't the only person with problems. Hey, are you going to be all right? Emma asked, still holding my arm. I don't know. All I can say, I know what I saw. You keep saying that. I know, Josh said.
If it was a prank, then they won. They scared the crap out of you. Hopefully they'll move on to someone else, Emma said. What if it wasn't a prank? What if it was real? It's impossible for someone to run so fast like that. It's as if... I paused. As if what? Emma asked. As if they were running at lightning speed. No human can run that fast. You have to believe me. Don't trust what you see when you're half asleep, Emma said. Do you think I'm going crazy? Josh asked her. I didn't know why I asked Emma that question. I didn't want her to see me that way. No, you're not going crazy, Emma responded. But my bedroom door was open. I know for sure I closed it all the way. Please, Josh, just breathe. Everything's going to be all right. You need to rest. Come, let's go back upstairs and get some sleep. We have school tomorrow. I know, I said. I looked down to the shiny wooden steps as I followed Emma upstairs. When we walked down the hallway, I wondered if I was indeed going crazy. Had I imagined closing the bedroom door behind me? Did I really see someone sitting on the front porch? Was there someone running past the front door? And what about that ugly eye staring back at me? I didn't know anything anymore. Was I sleepwalking, as Emma had suggested? Maybe this was all psychological, all in my mind. I knew I had to see Dr. Young. I had to let her know about this. She had to know. I'd take nightmares and hallucinations any day, just as long as what I saw, heard, and felt was not real.
And that concludes chapter 5. Thank you everybody for watching, and I do think we should definitely do a next read of chapter 6.
Yeah, chapter 6 is called I Am Your Friend and Enemy.
A friend and an enemy.
Yeah,
the combination goes good together.
So only quickly 2 things I want to say before we leave. With Miranda, this so-called friend of Emma, and her appearance in the book, and with also Officer Walker and Officer Carter, I'm only going to say a little heads up. They are actually, you will see them again.
They will appear in book 2.
Book 2 titled Cinema 4. So this is definitely not the last time that you will hear of them.
But a really good introduction.
They are going to appear in Cinema 4, Book 2. So
But-
there is a reason why we have mentioned them. So
That's
it's our
right.
introduction.
But already in this chapter though, Josh has already seen something,
An eye.
an eye in the peephole, something that's really gross looking and disturbing. But again, the officers found nothing.
Like
So
slowly, we're gradually getting a little bit worse. It's more revealing.
exactly.
Yeah.
But my question is to the viewers and listeners, is this all in his head or is this really, really happening? Remember, the officers find nothing. So my question is this real? Or
And even when he switches the light on and it doesn't work, but when Emma tries it, it
it
works.
does work. So
Yeah.
what is your thoughts? We'd love to know what are your thoughts and comments. And
Yeah.
we'll definitely continue reading. I think we should, because I'm actually getting really into this now.
It's just the build-up
It's
of
the
what's going to
build-up now.
happen. So we were originally going to read the first 5 chapters, but we
We
will
might
continue.
continue a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Excellent.
Anyway, thank you all for watching. A big thanks to 3CR Radio. A big thanks to Nikki and her tremendous help, our producer. And Elsa,
Absolutely. Like we always say, everyone, we'll see you next week, but in the meantime, follow the owl.
follow the owl.
Bye.
Bye.